Perspectives. They can get controversial. Did people land on the moon? Is the earth flat? Scientology. Did Atlantis exist? Do crystals heal us? Google rolled out a brand new filter for search results using long and short form videos, and we're going to dive in to what that means, what you should do about it, what you need to know this week on the SEO Weekly. Check it out. Welcome back to another episode of the SEO Weekly, where queries are weird, advice is controversial, and everything depends. I'm your host, Garrett Sussman of iPullRank, and every week I cover everything going on in the world of SEO. We're talking Google updates, blog posts, webinars, podcasts, SEO Twitter, LinkedIn Twitter, tools, features, you name it, I'm on it. If you're into this stuff, please subscribe to the channel, give us a like, leave us a comment. I genuinely appreciate it. Got so many interesting things to talk about. Want to hear my perspective? Let's dive in. So back in May, Google announced what was going to be this really exciting new helpful content EEAT feature that would be rolled out to search called Perspectives. Now, it's led to a lot of confusion because first off, what was originally rolled out was a carousel called Perspectives under top stories that's news related. So you get a news related query, you see your top stories, and then you see perspectives, opinions in a carousel on desktop and mobile. Now, a couple weekends ago, we found out that it was the new Perspectives, which is going to be a filter pill that shows up in navigation like images, books, flights, news. Perspectives would show up on mobile devices. So I got duped. I thought the carousel was the filters, two different things. However, this past weekend, we did actually see Perspectives rolled out, and it's really cool. What is it? Basically, it sources experiential content and maybe expertise from videos, short form and long form, forums, social posts, and provides a filtered feed related to a query. Okay, so all of a sudden we're seeing Reddit threads and YouTube videos and TikTok videos showing different perspectives on whatever your query is. Now, it leads to some interesting questions, whether or not it is going to be biased, whose perspectives are the most important. Is this all a popularity contest based on views? It's not completely clear, although Google indicates that it is from popular content. Now, it doesn't show up and trigger for every single query. I personally was curious to see whether or not it would show up for controversial pseudoscience related queries, and what I found was actually pretty interesting. First off, query, is the world flat? Scientifically, it is not. The world is round, and naturally, you don't see perspectives as an option here. How about there was a huge movement around the pseudoscience of crystals? And sorry, I'm not going to necessarily spare anyone's feelings if you do believe that crystals have healing powers, because scientifically, they do not. Perspectives, there's the filter pill there, but you won't see any results, okay? Now we get to see some more less controversial topics. For instance, does Atlantis exist? The continent of Atlantis that Plato referenced. Well, there's never been any scientific proof, but we do have interesting perspectives, not interesting, I don't know, but perspectives that show up for this type of query. Now, naturally, it does show up for all sorts of, just normal queries. And from an SEO perspective, it really seems to be more of the experience than necessarily any sort of trustworthiness or authoritativeness. It's not only from authoritative sites. It can be any type of YouTuber or TikToker or Reddit threads. Like Reddit could be complete BS. We don't know. That said, it's an interesting new kind of discovery process for search that would be valuable to show up for. Now, remember, it's social, so it's not necessarily for websites. They do indicate that maybe in the future you will see more opinion website perspectives come up, but right now it's really just a lot of those social videos and social shares and forums. So what do you think? Have you seen perspectives? Do you think this is a good idea? Do you think it leads to bias? Do you think it's great for search or problematic? Let me know in the comments. Listen, it's okay to be critical of the search generative experience, SGE. Google is doing their best to improve it, and right now it's problematic. There's a lot of times when it's triggered and the results are really bad, and maybe it shouldn't even be triggered in the first place. For instance, Brittany Mueller pointed out that when it responded in terms of the air quality, especially with that horrific experience going on in Canada, going down the East Coast, and in New York, this is what the search generative experience said. Now, on the other hand, a few days later, Michael King noticed that it had improved. It was actually accurate, which brings me to Danny Sullivan pointing out, he's the Google Search Liaison. He highlighted that quality updates are happening. It is improving. And in fact, it has reduced the time it takes to generate a result by half, which was an initial major complaint. Just the reminder that this is not rolled out to everyone. It is just to a certain group of experimenters. Feedback is critical. Google does want to improve it. It is so far from where it needs to be in the ultimate end game, but it's nice to see these improvements happening step by step, day by day, because when this rolls out, it's going to flip things. This week, there was another Google Office Hours with John, Martin, and Gary covering a range of various questions, and seemed to be this theme of the week was, is this a thing? For instance, Google approved badges for websites, not a thing. Index bloat, not a thing. Always good to pay attention to these office hours. They cover, general questions that a lot of SEOs know, but every now and again, they'll throw something out there that you're like, oh, okay, I did not know that they were thinking like that. So check that out. Great job by the guys there. So a couple other tidbits in the world of Google. First off, Google Search Console had an update for reports on video indexing issues. So for instance, if your most prominent video is too tall or too small or outside the viewport, now that's designated and reported inside Google Search Console. So you can fix those. Before that, it's kind of ambiguous and confusing. Also, Daniel Waisberg of the search team put together a really helpful tutorial. If you want to export bulk data from Google Search Console out to BigQuery, you can get a lot more insights. Remember, Google Search Console's interface is very limited for the amount of data that you can play with. When you export it, you can get so much more, but you want that to be efficient. So Daniel kind of walks through how you don't want to build dashboards directly on your raw data, how you want to optimize your data storage costs, and then ultimately how you want to optimize your SQL queries. Really helpful. Those little things can go a long way. So thank you, Daniel, on that. Boom. In the world of AI, it's always important to pay attention to some of the big stories and ultimately how they impact SEO when it comes to technology. So, for instance, US government, big news, bipartisan support for the Global Technology Leadership Act, which would establish the Office of Global Competition Analysis, basically saying that they're taking AI seriously now. Do they really care about how that'll help commercial interests? Possibly, but mostly it is from a technological perspective on how to compete with China, other countries that are moving forward with artificial intelligence, and where the US can stay abreast of that. Another story that comes out about data management as larger organizations start to use AI technologies to produce their own large language models or their own internal resources. They need to get their data management in order. So are companies doing a good job making sure that they don't have personally identifiable information in their data sets that they're training these LLMs on? Questionable. We're probably going to see some issues come out over the next few years of data handled irresponsibly. It's worth paying attention to. And then finally, Adobe Firefly. Adobe released their AI generative image tools, the Generative Fill, which has gone viral, super popular, and they stand behind their product so strongly that they are indemnifying any suits against it for copyright infringement. So if you are a business using Adobe Firefly and stock imagery and AI-generated content for commercial use, Adobe saying they're going to take care of your legal bills. Kind of nuts. That is impressive to say that. And will that run into issues in the future? Definitely something to pay attention to. But I think it is a strong statement to say they're behind that product legally. And it's basically an extension of how they handle stock photography already. So interesting to think about as we navigate these copyright waters. On our side, we are happy to announce that we are actually launching round 2 of the State of Generative AI survey. We want your feedback. We did our first round in March, and we'd love to know how you and your organization are using generative AI across the board. Are you using it for text? Are you using it for video? Are you, do you have policies internally that people are allowed to use certain tools or not others? Have you done nothing about it? Isn't an issue? There's a link to the survey. We'd love to get your support and participation. If you know someone in your org who would, you'd want to get their 2 cents on it, send it in here. We'll get you an early release of the report. We're doing this in concert with MarketMuse. The first one was awesome. Can't wait to see how things have changed over the past 3 months. I guarantee it's going to be a lot. And we've added a few more questions just to make it that much more interesting, insightful. Also, AIPRM, our founder, Michael King, has become the fractional CMO of this amazing prompt library using ChatGPT. Christoph Kemper is going to be joining me on Rankable in the next few weeks, but they are launching a contest to build chat prompts for small businesses. We're super excited. Over the next 4 weeks, you can create a ChatGPT prompt for the AIPRM library and win $5,000 among a whole other set of really cool prizes like a mechanical keyboard or a virtual escape room. We're really excited about this contest. We'd love for you to participate. Spread the word. If you know any prompt engineers out there, or if you've never even made a prompt, anybody can do it. It's not that difficult. We have the guidelines on how to do that in the forum thread where you can submit the prompt. So check that out. AI coming in fast and furious. Are you using it? I'm using it. I'm not going to tell. Well, you see the background at the beginning of this video. Yeah, that's Midjourney. That's me doing some skills around perspectives. You get it? Okay, moving on. You thought I was done with generative AI? Well, sneak attack. We've got a brand new video series coming to the AIPRM channel, hosted by none other than Michael King, iPullRank, called FridAI. Each week, Michael's going to give you his kind of whiteboard Friday version of the AI industry, starting off with how to create an effective ChatGPT prompt. Check it out. He dropped some references, Amelia Bedelia all up in that. No, but it's a really good series. I'm excited to contribute to it going forward. Have a listen. You know what? Let's hear a little snippet from Mike himself. Take it away, Mr. King.
So you want to choose your words very wisely. And I like to use Amelia Bedelia here because if you're familiar with this children's book character, she takes everything very literally, just like ChatGPT does. And so you want to make sure you're choosing your words very wisely so you can get what you want. So make sure you're using specific verbs, words like condense and extrapolate rather than rewrite. Because if you say rewrite, it's going to say, okay, do you want me to rewrite this the same length? Do you want me to say the same things? It makes a determination of what to do. But if instead you say condense, it's going to summarize. Or you could use summarize as an example, as a verb here. Or you could also use extrapolate where it's like, cool, add more to this based on what's there. It's very important to be very specific in those verbs. Same thing with adjectives, especially when you're thinking about voice and tone for your content. Be as prescriptive with those descriptors as possible. And then entities, any people, places, and things, I like to put those in quotes just to clarify to the language model, like, hey, I'm talking about this specific thing. Because there can be situations where, let's say I said, Logan Roy Rogers. It might have thought I meant Roy Rogers, which can be a person. It could also be a restaurant. So putting Logan Roy in quotes makes it clear that I'm talking about a specific entity. And then specificity. I can't stress this enough. Be as specific as possible, not ambiguous, not vague, unless you want it to be creative.
So there you go. Keep your eyes peeled every Friday for new episodes of FridAI. In the world of Twitter, really interesting long-form tweet from Ryan Law, ex-CMO of Animals, talking all about whether generative AI will kill the listicle. He is emphatic about it, hates it, thinks they're hollow, raw. So many of them are biased. And you know you've seen it when you've seen the listicle ranking the top 10 CMS or podcasts. Rankable. They always don't come off as the most reliable sort of thing, and they're just this obvious SEO play. Well, Ryan feels strongly that the new version of Listicle will be personalized. Whenever you're looking for recommendations, if you go to the search generative experience, eventually you'll see one that's tailored specifically to you, and that'll kill off the need for content marketers and SEOs to create these listicles. I personally disagree, at least in the short term. Maybe in the long term, we'll get to that personalized experience. But from my initial experience looking at SGE, I've seen that a lot of the results are actually pulled from listicles. And that's going to incentivize SEOs and content marketers to create more of them. So yes, we're going to see a lot more. They're going to be completely as invaluable, or not invaluable, the opposite, not valuable. They're going to be worthless, but they're not going away. So what do you think? Do you agree with Ryan? Do you think listicles are going to be bye-bye? Or do you think, unfortunately, like me, Google is just going to continue to incentivize them despite their lack of value? I mean, one argument he makes is that, people are going to lose trust in listicles. That's probably the case, but aren't people also supposed to lose trust in online reviews? And that really hasn't happened yet. So we'll see. Andrew Holland has been doing SEO for a long time. He's been this really awesome, well-branded follow on LinkedIn for a minute. I highly recommend you follow him and check out his content. He has a great article on Search Engine Land all about how to build a strategic SEO process. He breaks it down to 4 parts, talking about ideation, strategy, implementation, and success. It's high level, but the way that Andrew expresses it is very efficient. He knows all about the value of SEO. In fact, he actually wrote the book on it, and he has a lot of great visual images that help convey that message. Check out the article, how he breaks it down, and why it is worth it to pay for SEO strategy when you are trying to build your organic growth machine. Adam Riemer is the people's marketer. He has such a great way of explaining complex concepts in a way that we can understand. And he put together a really simple blog post, but I had to call it out, all around the difference between crawling, indexing, and rendering, which really trips up a lot of marketers, SEOs. So I just want to share this one snippet of his little analogy that I think helps crystallize it if you ever get confused. So the way he thinks about it is, think of a baby who just learned to crawl. You set them down at one side of the room and their favorite treat at the other. Baby will take off from one side of the room to the other. Crawling is the baby going across the room to explore the other side and find their treat. They're just looking and kind of being aware of everything. They're mentally taking it in. Crawling is just seeing everything that's out there. Indexing are the things that get stuck to the baby, like dust, loose carpet, and room debris. It's the actual interaction and saying, okay, these are the things that are a part of the search engine. They're indexing, they're discoverable, they're part of it. And then rendering is what baby gets on their hands and then shows you what was found. Basically, that's the visualization of the content. That's the debris on the baby's hands. Great job, Adam. It's a fun analogy, and I get it. It resonates with me. Does it resonate with you? Is there a better analogy out there that you want to share? Leave that in the comments. So a fascinating study done by Patrick Stox on Ahrefs, talking about the value that a temporary 301 redirect passes to its new target destination. The Gary Illyes at one point basically said, after about a year, any redirects will have passed all the page signals. So if you basically break that redirect and make it no longer exist, all of the page signals have been passed to the new target, and you don't have to start from scratch. SEOs are freaked out by this, the idea that at some point, if I break that redirect, then you have to start from scratch for backlinks is the kind of predominant theory. Patrick did the experiment, found that Gary's perspective or recommendations hold true, that after a year, all those page signals do hold up in terms of the value for the target URL. Although Patrick is still skeptical, it's great to see at least some sort of methodological study done on how this would impact in the real world, like not just theory. So kudos to Patrick. Keep your eyes peeled for future tests, which he says he's got a couple running already. So a little bit on the technical side of things, but a really fantastic article by Dave Davies on Search Engine Land, how you can use Google entities and GPT-4 to create article outlines. It is technical, but Dave walks you step by step and code by code through using the Google Knowledge Graph API and OpenAPI. It's not 100% free, although you do get a $5 credit, to extract the most important, the salient entities, the most relevant entities for your topic, and generate a content outline and an article summary so that you can write this brilliant article that includes all of those most important entity elements for you to rank. And then once you run that article, go ahead and hop over to OrbitWise or Exact Science, our tools, to check the content relevance, because my guess is they will be pretty relevant to your topic. Really great article, technical step-by-step by Dave, a little complicated, but you can do this. You can get there. Super. And a couple of Rankable, iPullRank related tidbits. Last week on Rankable, I had Tess, who is the VP of Operations over at Local SEO Guide, and we talked all about project management for SEO, change management, like using new softwares or using new processes, especially when your employees are like, yeah, I don't know, ChatGPT is like not my jam. How you can do that effectively, communicate with stakeholders, and basically transform your organization to be more effective and get more-ish done. Really great interview, and Tess is fantastic. She's so funny, and I appreciate her insights because it is not easy to juggle a lot of egos and making changes like that. Then last Thursday, LinkedIn Live had my man Zach Chahalis, Director of SEO at iPullRank, Senior Analyst Michael Glavik joining me for LinkedIn Live all around Black Friday SEO. Yeah, it's June, and you're like, what? Black Friday? That's like months ahead. Well, sometimes it takes that long to get stuff done, but Zach and Michael had their insights about what you should be doing now so you're prepared months and months from now. Because if you are in e-commerce, you need to have your Black Friday SEO done and future-proofed like yesterday, because transparently last year we did a webinar, I think it was back in like August, and it felt too late. It felt too late to do all the things that you need to do. So now's the time. Get going. Check out that webinar. If you have any questions, hit us up. So put together by Chris Kazaza, hat tip to Glenn Gave for bringing this to my attention. But Chat SEO, what it is a fine-tuned ChatGPT LLM that's trained on Google's blog posts, their documentation, search documentation, and the quality rater guidelines. You can put in some questions, and then you can get out a little blurb response along with a reference. Now, remember, with any LLMs, it could potentially hallucinate, so you probably will want to check those reference links. But a couple of seed questions that are really smart that Chris includes in there, like, is AI content against Google guidelines, or what is EEAT, or how can I add EEAT to my page? I tried it out with like, what is hreflang, and it gave me this long example. So pretty cool stuff. Neat little tool. Appreciate it, and it's free for 5 uses. Otherwise, you gotta sell your soul with your email information. But no, it's cool. I do appreciate that, like these innovative uses of generative AI. And finally, in the realm of tools, Sheriff, a really cool AI digital writer on Twitter and LinkedIn, has his own Beehive newsletter situation, put together a cool Twitter thread around SEO GPT chat plugins. So if you are a Plus user and you have access to plugins, they've been adding a ton of them. Boom, boom, boom. So many plugins that access the internet and do really cool things, and Sheriff runs through them. So I want to bring them to your attention because it's good to kind of know that they exist and start trying them out. I intend to sooner rather than later. But first off, you got SEO plugin. So it sends a URL and keyword, and you get an on-page SEO analysis and insight in seconds. Then you've got Brainwork plugin that can find keywords, generate content briefs, perform SEO analysis, and extract SEO information. You have the SEO Core AI plugin. So it uses AI to analyze and improve the SEO of a website, get advice on websites, keywords, and competitors. Website performance, so that allows you to measure key metrics about your website, measuring performance, measure accessibility, best practices, SEO, PWA, and then SEO Assistant creates a list of keywords to make it easy for Google to rank your content. Now, these are different than the original, ChatGPT, because in theory, it does have access to the internet. I would always try them out with a sense of skepticism. There's no magic bullet, and they probably will still hallucinate, but it is really exciting to take this stuff to the next level, because we know historically that ChatGPT has only been trained on documents up to 2021. So once you kind of start to put in these plugins, plug in these plugins, you can do new things. Still issues, still worth being skeptical, but a lot of potential and possibilities. Cool thread, Sheriff. Appreciate it, man. That's it. Another episode of the SEO Weekly in the books. Did I change your perspective? Aha, see what I did there? So many fun things. Thank you for checking this out. Hope you enjoyed this. If you're into this stuff, please subscribe to the YouTube channel, give us a like, leave me a comment, share on the socials. I genuinely appreciate it. My name is Garrett Sussman of iPullRank. That's been it. I will catch you next Tuesday.